you know how encouraging that is if we have that kind of support for a Bahamian concert? That would be so much encouragement. But I don't know. And the funniest thing is though, no one plays Bahamian music in Jamaica. But the only thing we play over here is reggae. You think I'm going to spend $1,000 and you got a young baby? What you thinking? I'm bragging about it. Me and my boo, we going to go. Wow. You might as well go to BIFS and get one certification or something with that kind of money. You know, it's $1,000. You know how hard I got to wait for $1,000? Boy, anyhow, let me stop because I don't even get my thinking about that. $1,000 for someone who just got to shit, I tell you. Devil busy. Okay, so how much time are y'all going to give them? Tell them 9, that's 45 past. So that's our 5th person. There you go, girl, you can live long. We say being a star, tell me you have at least 5 persons. Or you want to wait till 1 o'clock?
No, that's that. 5 more minutes.
Is that a consensus? Or is that a consensus? Or what y'all want to do? Once I hit 9, or we going to wait before that? Or what y'all want to do? I'm guided by you. Y'all are the boss. Okay, once I hit 9, we rolling. It's not an extremely long topic because this one overlaps. Because we did this, most of you did the introductory. Some of this is an overlap. Yeah? So that's the good thing because I wanted to get into the paper that you need to start thinking about. Because I know you guys won't wait till Easter to start talking about no paper. Because I know y'all got other things, y'all be thinking about what hot cross bun and stuff like that. Y'all ain't checking about no paper. Y'all thinking about fried fish and stuff like that. And going to Florida to Walmart. Yeah? No, I'm saying, but this is not an extremely long topic, the risk management one, because it's an overlap from a class we did before. I wanted to spend some time on the paper, because I did a cheat sheet for you guys, and we could discuss that for probably about half an hour or so, so you could get started rolling on that. Because unless you want to start doing it the week of Easter, and I know you all ain't thinking about that, because everyone, like I was saying, everyone think about fried fish and going to the States. The Walmart and stuff. Yeah. Okay, the only bad news was last Saturday, my cat died. Yeah, Sparkles hit Sparkles gone. Yeah, that one, it's the neighbor's dogs around the corner. I don't know how she get out of the yard, but she gone around the corner and I didn't see her on Saturday night last week. And I said, what happened?
She got murdered.
Huh?
She got murdered from the dog.
Oh, they mauled her. They mauled her. You want to see Sparkles? I got a photo on here. You want to see it? This ain't my lap. Okay, yeah. Let's see, I can show you Sparkles. With a little thingy. There was someone on. Anyhow, she'll see Sparkles too, I guess. Is it coming up? No? I thought this was hooked under that. No? It ain't come up? Oh, I guess it. Some special way he got it. Well, I don't know. This.
Yeah. You have to pull up the.
Pull up. Use the ID man. Pull up the what?
Pull up the. What you want? Flash drive.
It's in the what?
Pull it up. But for it to show up on the screen again. I think you may have to minimize risk management.
Okay, that's too much talking about you. Alright, I know what you just said in English, but anyhow.
Minimize, you see the background and say risk management? You have it up, right?
Where? No.
You don't have it up in the back?
Yeah.
Try and minimize that. I can see I can see that.
I don't want to close it.
Look behind you.
I ain't saying nothing here. Yeah.
That's it, desktop, right?
I guess, whatever that means. I mean, you could get up, you could come and do it, don't. Just before everyone else come in, I didn't want to they think you're talking about cats.
Let's minimize this. It ain't do.
No? Okay, we ain't want to lose the thing I'm training, I guess. Well, I mean, I guess y'all could trust me and say
They could probably come up.
Yeah. Okay, oh well. Ain't no thing. Well, in some pieces after what they did.
Wow. They did it in your yard?
No, this was around the corner. She been there hanging. I always telling her about that.
But she's just saying you saw a cat.
Huh? No, the neighbors, they said the body's in the road, branch corner and whatever. But I mean, I already put my plan in motion to poison those dogs.
You want a funeral?
A funeral? No, we probably have a little thing for her. I got her little collar. I was probably gonna just dig a little hole in the yard and just bury it, put a little cat food in there and sprinkle some. But I plan to poison those dogs.
Poison it.
The neighbor's dogs? Oh yeah, I can poison them. Okay, so it's that time, so we could start, yeah? Looks like this is, huh?
Yeah, environment and stuff.
But she go on her body.
Oh, she's gone, ain't nothing left of her. They tore her up, I mean, like, so the guts and stuff like that. Downbound, huh? Okay, so where we at now? Okay, so great. So we are on to risk management now. The actual presentation. I was telling, sorry, I didn't get you Darlene, right?
Ginger.
Ginger, your dad was in the police back? No. Okay, because I know someone used to be called Ginger. Hey, how you doing?
Good.
It's actually afternoon. So, the handouts that I normally have for you for the PowerPoint, I left it right on the coffee table walking up, you know, trying to get some cat stuff together, whatever. And I said, boy, I'm forgetting something. You know when you get a file COB, and then you remember like, hey, and you know you don't want to turn your back, right? Turning back is dead. I wasn't going back in that traffic and all that rain, because it was raining, so I said, you know, well, you'll either get it next week, but you get the PowerPoint. If you want to make some notes, great. But I don't have it. And I don't think the convenience of trying to go to the guys up front to do it, it'll be sort of crazy. Yeah, may not be time. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? So time probably wouldn't allow us to go and do that, so, you know, so I'll leave that alone. So having said that, okay, let me just recap that again real quick. So the handouts that I would typically give you of the actual PowerPoint, I sort of left them on the coffee table, you know, running out the house real quick, because it was raining and all that good stuff. Didn't realize until I got far as like, Poinciana Drive, and with all the rain, all that stuff, you know, I wasn't going back all the way into Michael for that. You know how that is? Yeah? So, no? I know you lost me to devil's advocate anyway. So, I wasn't going all the way back, seriously. You could get it next week. And if you want to, you can make notes. This one is a short topic because it's overlap of a topic we did before. Yeah? But there is some good news. I did do a cheat sheet for the paper that you're expected to do. I think it's due on is it 15th of April? No, it's in May.
May.
15th
of May.
But I mean, I would encourage you to start now. Because some folks, you know, when you get into that Easter mode, you're not interested in anything beyond that. You can be out of it for like a week. Yeah? Make sense? Okay. So having said that, we can now look, this is chapter 4, risk management. Let's look at that. Let's jump into that real quick. Like I said, some stuff may seem repetitive, but please pretend like it's your first time, you know, seeing this stuff and just go, ooh, I didn't know that. I'm clicking that thing there, but that ain't clicking up there. You cheat, you gonna mess this up. Because it was working before. What you do?
I didn't do anything.
You was there doing something though, because it was working earlier and now it ain't working. What you do?
Well, you have to go on the IT guy.
Don't touch that no more, please. Thank you.
What's the register? Thank you.
It click up there, but not on the actual overhead. Yeah, that's what we was trying to show them, the cat. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we got it cleared up now, folks. Yeah, there's a little delay there. What happened, we was trying to show the photos of the cat earlier, and that's why it didn't come up. Oh, yeah, you guys look like y'all know what's going on. But last week, Saturday, FYI, my cat got killed. He was mauled by some neighbor's dogs. I don't know why she going outside, like, hi, being good. and they attacked her and leaving the road and all that stuff. And yeah, so we probably have a little memorial for her today. But I was showing him the photo of Sparkle. That's why we couldn't get this week. Yeah,
How
so-
old was she?
Her birthday was August the 4th, 2017. In cat years, she's almost 14. But this year would make her 2 years. Yeah, so I got photos on all a little collar and all that stuff. I can bury those later. But hey, what's up? Hey, how you? There you go. All right, so back to the topic, risk management. And of course, like I said earlier, you could probably take some notes because I didn't bring the actual handouts, or you can wait for next week. You will get it. But it's just that I didn't have it this week because moving around so fast and all that good stuff. And again, it's a short topic, but a lot of the information was given already in previous presentation. So, key areas of discussion. You need to know basic stuff like what is risk? I mean, shoot, just walking out your house is a risk. You know, ain't no guarantee that if you're a law enforcement officer, a police officer, and you go to work every day, ain't no guarantee you're coming home. Your job is a risky job. Yeah? But of course, whenever you're discussing something like risk, how do you mitigate risk? Always think of stuff like procedures, policies, and controls. That's all you get. That's all you have. You could only minimize risk. There is always risk in everything we do. Yeah? Anyone in here have stocks? Shares? I know you have Arrow, you have it now. You. But with stocks, is that a guarantee?
Of course not.
There you go. Is there risk involved?
Absolutely.
Oh, there you go. Well, but there you go, because the market can be volatile. One day it's positive, next day it's down. It's up and down, up and down. So in all things, there's risk. Yeah? You have to, sorry? Oh, was the question? No? Okay. Areas of risk that you need to be made aware of. You do have regulatory obligations because if you're the compliance manager, the risk manager for your business, you need to be able to identify risk, assess risk, and mitigate risk. And you do have personal regulatory obligations too. Yeah? So it ain't just you protecting the organization. When you have been identified as the person who is the risk manager, where does risk start and ends? With the risk manager. Yeah? That's why they bless you guys with that big money, right? Amen? Anyhow, moving on. So there will be challenges to risk. There will be challenges. When I speak of challenges, of course, because the job is risky, and there are challenges, everyone can't do it. If it was an easy job, everyone would be applying for it, or, you know. How many persons you know applying for a headache job? Or going to the way looking for headache? I certainly don't want it. But of course, usually there always greater reward for greater risk. The greater, you ever heard that saying? Greater the risk, greater the reward. Yeah, you have to take chances. This is a chances job. Consequences for non-compliance. You have to ensure that you are in compliance, your policies are in compliance, your organization is compliant. Yes, sir.
Does this fall under the MLRO or?
Not necessarily just the MLRO. It can be the compliance officer who can also be the MLRO. He could be the risk manager. Risk is everybody's job.
I think we trying to.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. No, let's
We
talk
trying
this
to
week.
see
We
for our
talk.
company who is our risk. No one holds that title, risk manager.
Once you're in compliance, you're a risk manager.
Okay. So
There are some
probably-
institutions with
But they have that title.
separate title.
Yeah.
I think we were looking for separate.
Yeah,
so it
but
is-
it's a given.
It's in there.
Because when you think of compliance is just AML. You got non-AML regulatory obligations you have. Because compliance means you need to be compliant with all laws, not some laws, not just AML. Compliance is so wide because, let me give you an example. National insurance. You have to be compliant with that. So you need to know health issues, matters, labor laws and stuff like that because you need to be compliant with the laws. And in some organizations that goes to compliance. AML, of course, has a given. Court orders, production orders, and all that, suspicious and all that stuff. But you have to know all those other stuff. Health and safety, you need to be up to date on. If it was a state's OSHA, occupational Safety and Health, OSHA I think it's called. So you need to know labor laws, you need to know health laws, you need to, any laws that you need to be compliant with, whether it's AML or non-related, you need to know. You need to have a library or database to ensure that your company is compliant. Yeah? So anything to do with risk is basically you. And that's why they typically do in most of the bigger firms, they have legal and compliance. They try to marry the two because a lot of it is legal too. Yeah? No, yeah? So you may not have that title, fashion risk manager, but compliance is risk. Hey, how are you? So having said that, and last but not least, how to mitigate risk. And mitigate is just a nice word of saying soften the blow. Because you can't stop risk. Case in point, you think police could stop homicides from happening in the Bahamas? All they could do is prevent, put plenty cars on the road and perhaps try to detect and dissuade persons from doing it. That's a form of mitigation, but you cannot stop the act. There will always be risk. Make sense? And all they're doing is just trying to soften the blow by reducing the numbers. You see when they come and give you the stats? Oh, this year we doing pretty good. We only had 75 murders. That's a lot. But you know, some other years we had like 150. I remember one year when I heard some little guys saying, boy, anyone fool around me, I can make them 150 this year. I said, wow, really? Yeah, that was the talk on the street. Who won't make 150? I'm like, really? That's sort of dumb, but the mentality of some of those little guys. So having said that, let's go. Risk. What is risk? Would a bank give a loan for the construction of a new home provided that the contractor has all risk insurance? Hear that again? In the insurance, they got all risk, encompassing all risk. Because what could happen with you? Anyone here build a home from scratch? Is there any risk involved with a contractor? Have you heard some stories about contractors? Yeah, they have something called all risk insurance. That includes delays, costs, issues with persons getting hurt. I had 2 horror stories with 2 contractors. I fired both of them. I rolled up on one day. He had his leg crossed up, and I said, "Well, Chief, it's like only 11:30. I mean, like, you on break?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Is this your second break for the day? I mean, like, what's going on?" You know, I said, "Oh, anyhow, I have something for you." And I gave him my little letter. "Thanks for your services. Whatever I owe you right now, let's call it a day. Your service is no longer required." You know, he had one saying, "Oh, you can do this to me." I said, all right, yeah, all right, okay. Okay, this is your copy right here, and this is mine. You'll be saved. Thanks. Carry all your little tools, and don't try anything crazy like dropping cement in the pipes or nothing like that, because you know I can check. You know, I know where you live. Yeah, stuff like that. But in all processes, most processes, you're gonna have risk. You must make an annual premium payment for hurricane just in case. Basically, insurance is just in case. Yeah? Because it ain't if you can die. More than likely, if you live long enough, you may die. And if you don't have life insurance, then what? You either can have a cookout, a family can get together, you can try to figure out how they can bury you. Because national insurance only give you $1,800 if you did make contributions. Yeah? So you have to have insurance just in case. Because there's a risk of you dying without it and your burial. You see why risk play a big part? And the control there is having insurance. You have to have controls to offset risk and the possibility of it happening. And it's not really if it'll happen, more like it's when. You ever drive on the road without car insurance? Some folks say, "I've never had a car accident. I don't really need it." You know how much money you could save if you don't really, you know? But it's the law. Remember, we're guided by legislation and laws. So even if you don't want to do it, because risk, there's a risk that you could get hurt, someone else could get hurt, you're on the streets. And then there's also revenue too, by the way. But of course, the risk factor. Make sense? Everything is governed by risk. Okay. Oh, God. What, someone's logging in?
I'm gonna head down.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks. So again, you make life insurance premiums just in case you pass away to defray the cost of burial. And of course, you know, perhaps if you want to leave something substantial, you want to leave perhaps an inheritance for those who leave behind, and you don't want to die and leave that headache on someone, right? You ain't even got a plot, you ain't got insurance and all that stuff. Sorry, guys. What? What? But you keep laughing and you never said every time I ask you, You need to sit in the front, you know. Okay. So again, what we already touched that part. So risk basically is the potential of gaining or losing something of value, pretty much. Value such as physical health, when you don't pay for medical insurance and you don't have the coverage, social status, emotional well-being. In this case, financial wealth can be gained or lost when taking risk resulting from some unforeseen factor. Basically, you have controls in place in the event that something unforeseen take place, and you can soften the blow. Yeah? It would soften the blow having money to bury someone in the event that they would have passed, right? Basically, that's what insurance is. Same thing applies for hurricane insurance, stuff like that. If there's a fire, if your house gets burned down today or tomorrow, I mean, you don't want to start from zero. Yeah? So uncertainty, I said it relay here is a potential or unpredictability, uncontrollable. So you have no control over an accident perhaps happening in many instances. Maybe if you were careless, weather conditions, speed, but in most instances someone sideswiped you or they wasn't checking whatever. Some things are unforeseen. Yeah? But of course, that's why we have laws and insurance and all that good stuff. And I had this scenario before with this fella, he, don't ever do this. He hit me. And I was minding my own business, you know, I seatbelt on, drinking my little Coke, driving down the street, minding my business. Ram! I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me on a Sunday? Who's getting an accident on a Saturday? Like, hey, oh, Daddy, I'm so sorry. I said, oh, shoots. So I started getting all the information of his decal and all that stuff. He said, Daddy, please. I said, but no, boy, we called the police. I on this runway. He gave me his word. And I said, you know what? It is Saturday. You know, you're trying to be a good fella. And I said, oh, we won't go to the police. You know, let's negotiate and do that, right? Wrong. Don't negotiate an accident on the road. Go to the police, have them record it and whatever. Trying to find that fella. And he said, oh, you know when someone tell you, I live Cowpen Road. You know long Cowpen, and I go into all them little settlements and then, you know, Johnny? No, we don't know Johnny. Johnny, right, they don't lie. Johnny, and you don't go to all those. Please don't learn from me. Go deal with the police. Because that's a risk that your car will never get fixed. Make sense? So, since there's risk in everything that we do, if you're a financial institution, you need to perhaps adopt an approach to how you can deal with risk. And what is the best approach? A risk-based approach. You have to have in place what we call a risk appetite. Perhaps a statement, okay, this is the amount of risk we're willing to take. This is who we are prepared to onboard. And these are the controls we will put in place. So you need to have a risk-based approach. Any and every customer that walks through the door at your institution or inquire, you're not going to onboard because they may present a risk. A customer say, I am Mr. Modena from Venezuela, I want to open an account. Oh, okay. Weren't you like the president of Venezuela? Okay. Any risk there? Hell yeah. You all hear about all them scandals involving him, and now he want to move his money offshore and bring it here to your institution? Any red flags going on for there? No? Well, for one, he's a pal. For two, he's in the news, negative news. For three, he's known to be involved in corruption. So that wouldn't raise any red flags? Hell yeah. So risk-based approach is one in which controls, you will always hear this word. From the time you exit financial services, you will always hear words such as, they call them the sexy words, risk-based approach. And how do you deal with that? You have to have in place controls to mitigate risk. You'll always hear words like control. That's why I have that in place. Controls really applies to your policies and procedures. Yeah? This is how you're going to counter possible criminal activity or any possible risk that your institution is exposed to. What? That was a question? No? Okay. And of course, controls are applicable to each area, and they should be proportionate to the amount of risk. So if you have a great amount of risk, your control should meet it and should exceed it in some instances. See what I'm saying? If you have this amount of risk, I don't need to put all that level of control. Case in point, you have a client. Let's say you're a clearing bank, and this person, he sells bottled water and peanut by the light at Mall and Marathon. Do you really need to have that stock of documents to open that account? Okay, why is he on him? I mean, dude, he's telling you I'm bringing in $150 a week or every 2 weeks. What you got all that control for? Really? But if you have somebody who's a potential client, he was indicted, he is a PEP, his money is coming offshore, he's expecting a lot of wires, they're all going to exceed the reporting threshold of 50,000 or more, and he's associated with some persons who are negative in the press. Are you going to come with just this one little piece of paper and say, this is all I need from you? Oh, that's the time when you need to exceed the amount of controls to mitigate any possible risk, provided you onboard the client. Because remember, you have to have an appetite. Yeah? So your institution have to have an appetite. Do we take on, there's certain clients you could have prohibited. You don't take on everybody. Yeah? So you have to have that appetite. Because I mean, let's be real. When you go to the buffet, I mean, do you eat everything? You sample everything? There's only so much you sample, unless you want to be a pig. I mean, you don't just go there and just eat oh, I want 10 shrimp. Oh, chicken, I mean, 4 half a chicken, I guess that's 2 chicken. So you just, you don't have to get everything. You have a risk appetite, your stomach only this big. So why do you need to have all of that? You need to establish what they call a risk appetite, which you're willing to onboard and accept. Make sense? Mm-hmm. And of course, the risk shouldn't exceed the profit. Because I mean, my business, they always saying, oh, compliance, oh Lord, I hate dealing with y'all, because everything with y'all is like, oh, we see risk and we, that's what you pay me. I am the conscience of the institution, because the business side, they only focus on profit. When you get the RM, your relationship managers, they focus on the books. We get that. But hey guys. Okay, that's when you come late. When you come, it was darker earlier, but you sort of come when it's bright. So the profits, whenever your risk exceeds your profits, that's a problem. Yeah? Case in point, it makes no sense to be making all this money. Yeah? To pay it right back out in legal fees, having the assets restraint, confiscated. I mean, you could say, oh, we doing good, our books look healthy. But you got 20 court orders, production order, all these requests to restrain assets. It's only on the book looking pretty, but it's not negotiable. You can't do anything with it. You can't benefit from it. Make sense? Yeah? So a risk-based approach, usually by a company or financial institution, depends on the company's risk appetite. And you can remember that little scenario with the buffet again. So if you ever got your stomach can only hold so much food. So you ain't got a buffet and just taste everything. You have to establish that, hey, I'm going to go to the buffet, I'm going to sample a few items and go sit down. Maybe go back a second. But you ain't going to, the plan is to go to the buffet to go 5 times, right? Who's going to the buffet plan? I got to sample everything. What is the control? Offshoots. You ain't going to have no control if you go in there and you keep going back. But you should establish a control. I.e. your risk appetite. I.e. your procedure. Go there like a decent person, get 1 plate, and maybe go back and get some dessert. You ain't going 5 or 6 times. People be watching you. Yeah? I know I don't care, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying, like, you don't pay for it. But I watch some, I laugh sometimes when you go to Golden Corral, because my family, they don't like go to Golden Corral. They say, oh, that's bad. Golden Corral, and that's like, and that's where like the Joneses go. I say, no, Joneses don't go. Normal people go to Golden Corral. They say, just watch that one. Oh, look at how we going about 4 times. Really, you got time? It's a slow day. You ain't got nothing to do. Let me forget what I was saying. Okay, so we did touch on this the last time, since we're talking about risk. And of course, with risk, yes, there are inherent risk, but of course, we're being dictated to by international external factors. You remember those? We're not an island to ourselves, by the way. So, when I say that, when I talk about these, you have the big boys. The international boys say, hey, we see international risk. While you're thinking about your country, we think about the world. So we're going to establish some protocols and some rules as it relates to risk. And remember the 5. You will always hear the 5. When it comes down to AML and risk, they are the international standard for risk. Yeah, they set the tone for the world. They say, hey, this is what's going to happen. We have adopted it, the 20 most industrialized countries, so it's agreed. So whether we say we in or we could be in, don't worry about that. The rule has already been established as it relates to risk. Yeah? The only thing for us, as a jurisdiction, we got to figure out how we're going to apply it. But we have to be in line. Because failing to be in a line or on the court, equally yoked, however you want to fix it up, could mean that, you'll be shunned, set apart. What's that B word? Blacklisted. Yeah? So you have to be in line. So the AFATF identified risk. This is directly from the FATF standard. Identifies risk as a function of three factors: threats, vulnerability, and consequences. Threats meaning a person or a group of persons whose objective is to cause harm. So it could be a threat. Yeah? You can identify a threat to your organization or your business. Vulnerability, those things that can be exploited. You may not have adequate controls or processes in place. You've identified the threat, but then, sorry? Okay. So you could have the threats, and then there are going to be some vulnerabilities. And don't think that your institution is foolproof. If anyone put their hand up and say, oh, my institution be foolproof, we will never have a risk issue, I will call you a damn liar. Sorry, a gosh darn liar. Because if it was foolproof, you wouldn't have a need for risk management. The fact that you have a risk management means that there is risk. Yeah? And consequences refer to the impact or harm that this threat will represent. So in your assessment, based on the FATF, you have to identify the risk. You have to see where you're vulnerable. The various gaps, what do you call it? Gaps in your defense. Because you can't have chinks in your armor. And that's why typically on a year or every 2 years, there is a risk assessment done on your policy and procedures. Because you think you're doing something, okay, yeah. But remember, laws are constantly changing. And while you may be doing something like, say, about 10 years ago. Thank you, sir. You're a good man. I remember you in my will. So while you think you're doing something good 10 years ago, because as laws and regulations are constantly evolving, you may be 10 years behind. Yeah? So you may have to show up your defenses, i.e. your policies and procedures. Yeah? Have anyone in here ever been audited by Central Bank? Have you ever gotten a report saying the on-site exam was perfect, no issues?
No.
Never. And you know why they will never do that? Rule of thumb for on-site examiners is this. Because my boss told me that because I remember when I used to go and do the assessments for our business unit, she said, I was about to give a particular unit excellent. And she said, you will never do it. Remember the one who called me when I was on that big, yeah. So she said, you will never give an excellent report on my watch. I said, but why? I mean, they cross all the T's and all that. She said, yes, but never. Give them, let's just say satisfactory. I said, but why? I mean, she said, because what if someone comes behind you and do a retest of what you did? That means you're going to call into question because you could have made a mistake. So we will never give them that 100%. You'll find an excuse. The most we'll give them on my watch is a 90 satisfactory. You'll never get 100%. And I said, yeah, I see what you're saying, but so when you see the auditors coming, it's something called justifying their existence. They will never tell you how to perfect audit. Because if I tell you got a perfect audit, you know, like, you think I need you next year to come back? You know, tell me I'm perfect. They will always find something to say. Yeah, that's been a rule of thumb at my organization. I know about you guys, but I know Central Bank will never give you a perfect audit. You'll always have something to say. Oh, you could do this better. Oh, we think you should do this better. And I'm like, wow. But really? The fellow who was auditing me used to work at my institution, but he gone over there and he adopted the same. But it is what it is. You will never get a perfect audit, which is good because they're the persons who are going to test you. So you need to be in line with their regulations. So if they say, hey, I need you to, when you come in, like how he's complaining with the light, I want more light. You ain't trying to make the room darker. I'll bring more, I'll put a bulb here, I'll put one candle here. I know you like light. But I'm just saying, because the regulator want more light, I'm going to give it to them. Make sense? Give the regulator what they want. Make sense? You do not want to be on the bad side of a regulator, especially as it comes down to risk. You want to avoid those bad reports. And I got a problem once with a regulator, my boss. The regulator said, man, let's sit down and talk about this report. Because he's a church fellow, man. He said, we can talk about lunch. He said, yeah, you mind? He said, yeah. I told my boss, she said, what? Will you get off out here? I said, no, ain't like that. Relax, boss. He's my church. No. We don't operate like that. But I said, he gave me some information on something else. She said, like what? And I said, some other stuff was in the pipeline. She said, okay. Well, you got the petty cash, or how you want to do it? I said, boy, you see how life go? Huh? Yeah, of course. If you're not prepared, I've actually, please don't quote me on this. I've actually been on a job interview before at a financial institution, and the person who was interviewing me from HR said, "Are you prepared to play politics?" I was like, "I know how you answer that as a trick question." She said, "Because at my institution, this is what the lady's telling me. You need to know how to influence the movers and shakers at the board level and senior management." I said, "Huh?" But I said, "If I see so and so," and she said, "Are you prepared to play politics? This is how we operate at a Swiss bank." And I said, "Really? Okay." And she said something even more scary after that. She said, because the person who holds the position that you're vying for, trying to get right now, she doesn't know we're getting ready to terminate her. So I'm sitting there like, what the hell? So the person sitting in the chair, don't know that. So what makes you think they wouldn't do it to me?
Corporate.
So as soon as she said those two things, I said, and they called me and said, "Oh, you were not a successful candidate." I didn't lose no sleep. I said, "Oh, okay." But you prepared to take on that kind of risk, to leave your sort of stable job to go to some environment where they telling you some stuff? In that instance,
depends on your risk appetite, buddy.
Risk appetite, and ask for the gift of
mortgage
this.
might already be paid off.
Well, that mortgage ain't there yet. So I still got another 3 years. And the day you see me get that 3 years, I can go and get me a combo, go right by Arawaki, and I can carry lighter fluid, newspaper, and dig a little hole, and I can bury that document. It's paid, it's finished. I can take my own time and I can eat my combo. Right out there by Arawaki. Y'all gonna know about it, because I can have a sign. Just finished paying off mortgage. Huh? Log up for what again? I forget what I was even going to say. You better behave, yeah? But that's a milestone, though. You know, to get over, you know, have 3 more years left. Boy, you don't know, boy. And after I do that, I go into work that Monday, looking thick and fight with my boss. I go into work with the attitude. Randy, you do, I do what? I get it when I get there. Huh?
She said you quit. I say no. You still have university.
Oh, I fool now. No. I still no. You ain't
That's only
fool, but
one part over.
you know, you know when you get money, you know we change. Because the minute, like, maybe that's why God didn't bless me, because He know it's sort of somewhere deep in my heart. If I get a couple $, I'm going to work. I'm going to work for 1 day. Hey, girl. I'm not stressed to speak my mind. I go along with the program. They'll give me work and say, "See ya, let's try and get it back here." I get to that when I get to that, if I get to that. So you need to. So when we're talking about this risk thing now, there are different types of risk, but you need to be able to identify risk. Yeah, and you know, to assess risk. I guess in this stage you need to look for the gift of discernment. Yeah, that discerning spirit. Because some risk, the reason why I said, because if you ask 2 persons, do you see anything risky in this scenario? And they'll say, I ain't see no risk, you know.
Right.
They may be clouded by profit. And they'll be like, I really ain't seeing it, because technically he was charged like 10 years ago. And technically he did get off. And it was just for, it was for securities. It really wasn't like murder or anything like that. You know, they trying to justify in their mind. Have you ever had to deal with a relationship manager before? And they're trying to justify, because they have targets to meet. Exactly, and they have targets. I mean, they ain't hear what you said. I was like, but I ain't sure, but this person, these are the factors I'm looking at. And they're like, yeah, but I mean, he did pay the fine, you know. And there's also this thing called reputational risk, because do you really want to onboard this particular client? Yeah, he comes with a lot of baggage.
Sorry, compliance at your institution has veto power for relationships, because that's normally a business decision. You can only recommend.
No, but what we do, we can make recommendation, and we can strongly recommend, and then what the business do sometimes, they will try to, we have what we call a risk committee to go beyond us. And if they see they can't get it through us, then they say, you know, let's go, we ain't hear what you're saying, let's go to the risk committee. But we do have representation on that committee, and then we go back and forward. And 9 out of 10 times for us, 99.9, they lean to compliance. Because we go with a whole, when we go there, we come with a big Bible.
Well, I mean, why go through all of that? That's what they said about
Business.
No, I mean, from your standpoint, if if these persons wanna go over your head, why just let do whatever you wanna do?
No. So you still gotta, you're the host of the business. You can't, at the end of the day, it'll come back to compliance, and that is when you sit there and you watch all of that.
Okay then.
When the regulator, when something go wrong at the institution, even though you tell them don't do it, the regulators, they ain't going to the MD, you know.
Okay.
They ain't going to say, they ain't wanna, who's your compliance man? You sit
Okay,
there
so
and watch it.
you pretty much defending your.
Pretty
Yeah.
much,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
You're the, so, that would be on you. So you still have to cover yourself.
I got you.
I did all of this, they going over me, they went to the
Yeah,
risk
yeah,
committee,
yeah.
and I pushed this and that, and you have to cover yourself. Yeah? So when you talk about identifying and assessing risk, there have to be a stage called the risk identification. This is the firm's exposure to risk, which requires, in cases, external knowledge. If you don't have an internal counsel, legal counsel, you'll have to lean on your external counsel, and that's a good practice to have a legal counsel, because not all compliance officers are lawyers. And sometimes you may need to lean on that legal expertise, and then not all lawyers make good compliance people. Because we have, I've seen some scenarios where, oh, I'm a lawyer, I can do this. Okay, no problem, Mr. Lawyer, go ahead. I see this order coming out. What would you do in that scenario? Man, you still a lawyer, I don't know, what you think? I don't know. The legal counsel who I work with, she's in a separate department, we leverage off one another. She has a background in legal, but not in compliance. And people get that little mix up. Yeah? Because there are going to be some stuff that are norms to compliance that you may not be privy to. Yeah? You may say, for example, you may came from doing criminal law, sending people to jail for murder and all that good stuff. You've never done anything to do with money laundering. You have no background in finance, trade, or whatever, and you just get a file. Boom. What's the risk? Who are you going to lean on? Compliance. You're the subject matter expert. They can interpret the law, but put in practice the compliance regulations. They may have an idea, law is law, but they put it in practice. You would need that kind of background. Cheryl Bazard, she is currently the president of BACO. When she came to my institution, when she was head of compliance, she pulled, she said, look here, I am a lawyer. I know law, inside and out. I don't know squat about banking. You're the legal person, you can educate me on this. I'm not a boss, I don't know. I can leverage on you. You need to bring me up to speed. That makes sense? Make plenty sense. You're the boss, but you don't know everything. Yeah? You have to do a risk analysis. You really basically have to do an assessment. You see that there's risk posed to your business. You need to determine, okay, what would happen if X happen, or if we don't do this? What's the possibility? You got to do this, play this role out in your head. Like what can possibly happen? Scenarios. You have to do an assessment. The probability that an event will occur, and how do you protect your institution from an event happening. Make sense? Because when you at the risk assessment level, you need to be able to demonstrate that to perhaps the board. Because when you get before the board as compliance officers, risk managers, they drill you with all kind of questions. Some days when you go in board meeting, it's like, oh, you in and out, take your little report. Some days they ask all kind of questions. Mr. Taylor, what about this? And I was like, geez, what? I didn't know. I thought I was in and out. They said, no. What's the risk? I said, well, there's the risk of possible fines and penalties. Okay, give me a scenario. Okay, the central bank new standard on the relaxation of opening accounts. Yeah, you can perhaps come into an institution and provide a voter's card and let's just say a driver's license. That would suffice. For your institution, it would suffice your photo identification, your nationality, and your address verification. But all that information right there is not necessary. Because right now, central bank said you would need to have at least 2 points of contact. If you're a low-risk client, so you don't have to verify address verification for low-risk clients. So while that information is good, they don't really need all of that. And some clients are hip to this. And people ain't stupid. They follow guidelines and regulations. And we had scenarios where staff say, oh, you can't do that because our policy say, no. You gotta know what the regulations say, the guidelines. Yeah? And then you will get complaints. So what is the risk there? The risk is that central bank would say, you ain't following their guidelines. And you know what happened when they started to see complaints? They say, you know what? Let's do an on-site exam. You really don't want central bank to come visit your organization for 2 weeks, right? They come to you all through your office, sitting down, watching you. That's never
Hanging
comfortable.
out, drinking coffee.
And they, oh, we need coffee, copies of this, and you got, how do you do this? And I'm like, jeez, you do not want central bank on property. Because it's a stressful life. Let me give you an example. I can talk fast, I know, I watch the clock. I can get you all the time now. We had an examination back in 2013. And, you know, this was my first main exam. And they prepped me, my MD. Oh, okay, you gotta say this, you gotta do that. I say, yeah, I got it. You know, they get the little script in your head and you know, you ready, you feel all good and everything, you're good, you done checks and stuff and whatever. 164 files, I will never forget it. The examiner, they came in, you know, you got everything on a little trolley, you're going down there. They came to visit my organization. I think it was 7 or 8 of them. All sitting on one side of the table. How much people sitting on my side of the table? Me. And I was like, where's the rest of the team? And they're like, oh, you got it. I said, damn, this is a slow Monday because everybody ain't coming. They say, oh, only you there. I said, wow. So the examiner, the chief examiner, I'll never forget him, please don't quote me, Mr. Charles Virgil. He's now a good friend of mine. Mr. Taylor, I have 3 questions for you. I was like, yes, sir. Because I'm confident. I got on coat, suit, and everything, matching ties, socks, everything was ready that day, Monday morning. So he's like, okay, Mr. Taylor, first question. That box right there, 164 files. Before we start the exam, are they all in order? And of course, you know, yes, sir, those files are in line with regulations and the policies and procedures here at my institution. They would have been examined, and they're all in order. We are prepared for any risk exposure. And I was hot that day morning, I was ready. So he said, all right, Mr. Taylor, I got you. Second question, before we start examining these files, are they all in order? So I said, he hard of hearing, or he missed something, or he just...
Trying to give you the rules.
I said, what kind of friggin' thing? So I said, Mr. Virgil, the files are in order, because we have policies here that we usually follow, and we should have everything in order in here. So all right, I get what you're saying. Okay, so before we start this exam, I got one last question. Before we start looking at those files, are they all in order? I said, and I know I ain't stupid. This is the third time you asked me the same question. No boy, something ain't right here. I missed something the first 2 times, or he trying to play me like So I said, I ain't gonna lie to you, Mr. Virgil. Like, I tell them to come with the files in order. If you go through there and you see a file going in order, you just tell me which business unit is responsible, and I can identify that person, but they should be in order based on how. He said, you know, you give me 3 different answers.
Yes, that was your problem.
And I was like, damn. And it didn't hit me until, but I'll never do it again though. You learn, you know, you get to learn these little tricks. So that little scripting what they give you, that don't work all the time.
Wear you down, man.
Huh? He wear me down. And I was the only one there, and then 8 of them beating up on me. And then when he pulled that first file, he said, can we start? I said, yes, sir. And because I got all the best files on top. Dude, pull one from the middle. I said, that's different. Okay. Mr. Taylor, you don't have this here.
Because they don't know that
All I said, look at this foolishness this morning. They on a Monday, right? And I just looking out the window and Mr. Taylor over here. I said, yes, sir, go ahead. And he said, you don't have this here and that, and why this and that. And I said, okay. I said, all right, Mr. Virgil, that's a one-off. That one probably in KYC compliant. That's a one-off. No problem. He pulled another file, even lower. I said, what the friggin' hell? Maybe I should have put on the parts on top. And he just pulled up, and he started saying, oh, you don't see this and that. And they said, oh, what about this and that? I said, that's a one-off. He pulled another file, I said, that's a one-off. He said, you see the trend here? I said, man, you just give me the name, and I can tell you who the staff is, who messing up with the file, man.
Yeah, you wrong for that. You don't tell colleagues that we...
He in the hot water? He get mortgage?
You don't show your colleagues that
I know who driving the bus. You talking about throw them under the bus. They leave me in the room. The examination only me in the room. I get beat up by 8 examiners from Central Bank. Ain't no one in there. And then when we
That's why you need manager and you collecting that salary.
Oh, that's
Don't
right,
throw
that's
those
right.
under the bus.
Well, you should see me taking off those stupid tie and things like that. It was getting hot in here, boy. And the thing about it, this is the sad thing. When we had a lunch break, the managing director, the girl called me, how things going? I said, you all leave me in there by myself and you got more, how it going? Say nothing to me, man. I don't want to hear nothing.
Did they give you notice of the inspection? Or
Yeah, we knew.
So why you didn't go through the files first?
But the files, how the files are, we not in one location. You got Family Island, you got display and that. They sending stuff in the time to look at the files. Central Bank, how they do it, they randomly pick files.
I know.
So they would say, okay, yo, out of this 80,000 files, we want this one. You know, you ain't gonna physically have a chance to go through all and make sure everything in order. But when they give you that notice 3 days ahead.
Right.
So I ain't got time to go through all the ones where they get, they pull out 164. I ain't got time to go through 164 files like that. I mean, got other stuff going on. So I was like, dang.
Those all come to our
These
fail.
are the business.
Oh, we failed with a big fail.
So what was the
Oh, they beat me up with the boss them. When they gone before the bodies. How you let that happen? I just listen to them. I just saying, you know, why am I taking this?
Well, what
Oh
central
yeah,
bank
mortgage.
did they sanction you over there? Do they penalize you?
Oh yeah, yes. They wrote us up and they said that we below
Deficient.
standard. There was a deficiency and we had to go do this. The processes had to change.
Yeah.
We had people had to fly in from Barbados coming in and they said, oh, we had to do this. And they said, Randy, just sit in the corner because you done mess things up. I was like, wow, really? And until we got off that like about 2.5 years later
What?
to meet the requirements. Yes.
Yeah.
They were like, what?
Wow.
Central bank deficiencies ain't overnight. They make some demands and they say, oh, this process got to change. See, we're just not a bank here. We're regional, so it doesn't change if we start to think about changing the whole policy. It don't just tweak for one. So that was a headache.
So you tweak across the whole Caribbean.
Yes, because whenever you touch the policy, it affects other territories and systems. So they said, you know what, if this is the route central banks are going, it makes sense to try do it like regional. Yeah, because normally with the Bahamas, other territories follow suit. You see Cayman will do it next, Barbados will do it. So you say, you know, let's try change it this time and let's be above the minimum standard.
How long were you there before that all happened?
I was there 3 years. 3 years. But you know.
So you inherit some of that foolishness.
Oh,
Not
I inherit-
for 3 years.
Yeah, man.
I happy you on my side, you know. I really happy you on my side. I really appreciate that. Because I mean, that year my boss, she said, oh, I'm talking about the bonus time. I said, but chief, she said, bonus, you caused us to get right up and everything. I said, what else I got this kind of on?
No one got fired? Suspended?
No, I mean, you will always have gaps. But then in that scenario,
Sounded was bad, that's why I asked if anyone got fired.
it was, I ain't fooling now, you still got to work. But I mean, it is what it is. You live and you learn.
Right.
So you got to do a risk evaluation, you know, based on the assessment. You need to switch gears and see what you need to enhance with that type of control. Risk treatment, just like where you have symptoms. You need to know how you're going to treat the cold. Now what you're going to do? You discover that you got the sniffles or whatever. Now what do? Get your little OJ, your Kleenex, or whatever medicine you need to either to mitigate or try to get rid of. Yeah? So basically you need to identify the issue. You need to do your analysis, evaluate what risk exposure, and then you need to figure out how you're going to treat it. Just let's think of it like a common cold or some ailment. Yeah? Yeah. So some areas of risk, international banking clients, if you operate in that sector, pose additional challenges. Why? Because most of the time they're not directly in front of you. They're in another jurisdiction. And getting information from someone in another jurisdiction is a task sometimes. I've seen a relationship manager came to me and said, do you want to onboard this client? I said, oh, no problem. Just look over some documents here. And they dropped the stuff in front of me. It looked like Braille. I said, what's this? She said, that's what they said. I said, well, what language is it? She said, oh, that in Arabic. I said, so what the hell am I supposed to do with this? I said, she said, that's what they gave me. I said, well, I don't understand Braille, so what am I supposed to do with this? Carry it back, tell them get it converted to this thing called English. You know, they could go through their embassy, or preferably U.S. embassy, whatever, and have it notarized, because I need to know who translated it, and I could have that verified. But you don't just drop something. It's hard when you deal with international clients. And you know one thing with international clients, they prefer or they love privacy. That's the appeal. Yeah? When you send the money offshore, it's mainly for privacy. I don't want the world to know what I have. Corresponding banking relationships, international trade, of course sanctions, corruption, new products and business lines, technology-based products, bitcoins. You know the challenges when you deal with those stuff. Anonymity, global clients, because you're dealing with various jurisdictions, and some jurisdictions could be high risk, and the AML standard may be lower than ours. Yeah? Future acquisitions, AML is key. is a key risk to be assessed in any prospective deal. Yeah? Because you're dealing with 5. You got so many international bodies there that honing in on AML. That is the primary risk when you talk about financial. Yeah? Above anything else, it starts with AML. What's your risk appetite? High risk clients could include, for example, PEPs. Just some example. You know those gentlemen there. Yeah? Some clients pose a potentially higher inherent risk for money laundering. What? What's that?
One of these
You
things
asked
just
me.
doesn't belong here.
Well, the PEPs, politically exposed persons. Yeah, I remember that from the last class. Ain't nothing wrong with being a PEP. It's just that these individuals can control the country. They can make decisions for everybody because you elected them to make decisions on your behalf, which includes finances. And sometimes some people get carried away with power and they decide that, 2 for them, 3 for me. 3 for them, 4 for me, sometimes.
They pet for life?
Sorry?
For life? They politically exposed for life?
It depends. There's a common thread that believes that once a PEP, always a PEP.
Right. Once
Some-
a thief, always a thief, right.
No, I ain't calling no one no thief. But because even when you leave office, do you think he still have influence?
Yeah, man.
Oh,
I think the prime minister,
What?
I think the prime minister should always be a PEP.
Always.
Always.
Because you'll always have followers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's definitely correct.
But even Mr. Christie, you think he still have power?
Yep.
Yeah. Behind the scenes, he could still be wielding power or whatever.
Because what if this man, the man, when they open up a account, they be under scrutiny, you constantly watch them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whenever they open up an account.
Yes.
Whenever they open an account.
Wow.
Because part of being a PEP too is mean you have influence because your position gives you influence. If you could control, let's say, the public treasury,
Right.
you can control decisions. Let's just say they have some deals going on. You have total control over that. How you know that I ain't gonna influence my family getting some contracts or some of my friends or cronies getting contracts? That's corruption. Yeah? And sometimes some of them do get kickbacks. Yeah. So, having said that, you do have a legal obligation as it relates to risk. Companies are required to identify, manage, and mitigate any risk as it relates to possible money laundering and terrorist financing. That's a given. And annually, you have to do a risk assessment. Do you do one at your institution? Is it every year, every bi-annually? How does it work? Yeah?
You mean client?
High risk client?
It depends on.
No, on your business. The risk,
Annually.
a risk assessment.
On the business, it's annually.
Anyone is due to do one, send a submission to central bank in April. Really? No? Your institution? I know that for a fact that I have to give one in April because central bank rule as it relates to corporate governance, where you have to give a risk assessment annually. And I think it's due 120 days after the new
Oh, you
calendar year.
mean that, the
Yes.
corporate governance
Yes.
certification, yes, that is due.
Yes.
Yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
because I know mine's I've been looking at that just Friday. I ain't got time
Yeah,
for this.
you're right.
Anyone else have to do with it? No? I'm the only one? I'm the only two? Okay. Well, it's a headache. Because then, you got to come up with all these figures and these processes and include in there. So compliance is also required to conduct reviews of all facts related to unusual transactions. Yeah? So you have to report on suspicion. FTRA. Everyone is familiar with that? Financial transaction. Okay, we did that before. Just so I have to keep repeating it. It basically is a piece of legislation that speaks to your mandatory obligation to verify the existence of these customers, the facility holders, maintain verification records and all that good stuff. And you're required to also make reports in instances where there is suspicion. Any suspicious activity, you have to report it. This goes without saying, you are required to maintain policies and procedures. Is there anyone in here about to give input before in the policies? Guidelines or procedures or anything like that? No? Or you leave it to your compliance people? Yeah? No? Oh, well, I know you was write policies, so, anyone
Yeah,
else?
but that's when I was on the client-facing side, I could do it, so.
Oh, okay, cool. It's a headache, but it's a part of the job. As a MLRO, anyone in here has MLRO? Okay, well, anyone else? MLRO? No? Okay. Well, I'm unfortunately the MLRO for my institution.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a lot of headaches sometimes. I wouldn't tell you no lie, but it pays the bills. So this person is responsible for making the decisions as it relates to suspicious activity and the filing. So everything is challenged with that individual. And this person is the contact person for regulators, law enforcement, in compliance related to AML matters. And of course, that person has to be registered with the FIU, Financial Intelligence Unit. That's a legal requirement. And the person is also required to, an institution is also required to appoint a compliance officer who can be both MLRO and compliance. He could wear both caps. So challenges for as it relates to risk. Have you noticed the rules keep changing? Every day there's some new policy or guidelines, and it's hard to keep up. So I mean, you got to go revisit your policies again. It's hard to keep up with legislative changes, terrorist financing changes, FATCA, enhanced due diligence, the relaxation of KYC, wire transfers is a task too, because you're dealing with corresponding banks. You have to go through a corresponding bank to facilitate the relationship. And you're talking about high-risk jurisdiction, of course, PEPs, persons who are high risk for corruption. So you'll have all of these challenges. Retroactive due diligence, updating KYC, international corporate vehicles, complex structures, stuff like that. Senior management. I guess you will wonder why I have senior management as a challenge. Anyone know why? Take a guess. Why would senior management at your institution be a challenge to you doing your job as a risk manager?
Responsibility and risk don't always go hand in hand.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line.
Because senior management, they're concerned primarily with
Bottom
the
line.
bottom line.
Yeah.
They're not really concerned about the risk. I've actually heard arms tell me before, yeah. I hear all that stuff you mean. I give a whole dissertation and they'll say, yeah. Okay, but how do we get around that? you wasn't listening to me all this time telling you what could happen and possibility. Yeah, we hear what you're saying, yeah, but there's a deal we can't pass up. It's too sweet. And I was like, but the possibility, if the risk outweigh the reward, it's outside of our risk appetite. You keep asking me how we get around it. What do you tell? What you want me here? And they say, okay, could you meet us halfway and perhaps just sign off on it this time and then be able to focus on the risk afterwards? Someone can sign it. Just ain't gonna be parties on. I ain't gonna sign it. Yeah? Because once you sign off on that, that means you approve. Yeah? And I know there's that look you have on your face, but I mean, they can hold it against you. That's your job. They have recourse. They can escalate it to perhaps the risk committee, and then you can represent the case all over again. But this is your educated suggestion on the matter. Make sense? So new stuff on the horizon. Again, we did talk about CRS, which is not new anymore. Hey, how you? I think we did talk about cryptocurrency the last time and medicine and marijuana.
What do you think is the bank for Fusion Superflex with that Bitcoin machine they have sitting up in there?
Coin machine?
They have a Bitcoin machine. I'm trying to figure out which commercial bank is taking that risk. You?
Why are you looking at me?
Because you smiling like you.
I just want you to leave some stuff alone,
Yeah, you
man.
look
You just
guilty, so
put me in, man.
I'm just wondering which commercial institution took that on.
I don't know,
I know.
Boy, you think you're slick. You ain't gonna set me up today. I mean, yeah.
That's interesting to me. Bitcoins? So let me rephrase the question.
Okay.
If your institution had that relationship,
Mhm.
how would you control that or be comfortable enough to manage the risk involved with that?
Let's put it like this. They called me at my institution with a level, what is it, level 8? So that decision was made by a level 20. Pay grades, difference. Way up there, decided this is what's going to happen. I could say, hey, I have some issues with X, Y, and Z. And then I would get a phone call. Brr, hey, what's up, Randy? You alright? Yeah, right here. You remember that fusion?
Yeah.
Yeah, we think that's a good opportunity. We saw your little submission,
Recommendations, right.
whatever, but yeah, we counted that. So we cool.
They
Is it-
figure they have enough tools in place to manage that risk.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, you know, I'm here and then at pay grade level say, hey, I'm comfortable. They supersede me. And you get those type of calls. And if you're going to be in compliance, you're going to learn this, you're going to get calls.
Also, so many clients now.
Well, I don't want them to fly that because that's never a good thing at my institution. Because whenever we see certain people come down, like Jonathan, whenever he comes down, I mean, some people going home. I don't call him on the phone. We can talk on the phone. But how do we do it at my institution? When you see certain people come in, you say, oh, who going home? That ain't a good sign. Because they would come in and then they would say, okay, we're going to need an office. They're like, what? You all didn't passing through. You all setting up shop. We're going to need a landline. We need this and we need that. Oh, well, yeah, someone going home. And typically, whenever they leave, 1 or 2 persons going home. That's the hatchet men from the head office. And they come in, they all smile, hey, how you doing? And I was like, geez, that's Jonathan. He said, hey, buddy, what's up? And because I like, how long you gonna be in town? You know me. Until the job is done, okay, what am I doing? Yeah.
This one.
Sorry?
I said my question. This one.
Yeah, you set up this. There are consequences for non-compliance. Extreme cases, loss of license. You don't need to have your license suspended or lost. Whenever your license is revoked, that means you have to reapply. Getting a financial institution license from Central Bank as a registrar is not easy. That don't happen in 2 days.
Money.
Yeah, that's a while. So you don't want to have to go through that. Damage your reputation. It's nothing like your name. You have to protect your name. Yeah? That is one of the biggest concerns right there. Because if you have a, how we call it, a stinking name in the jurisdiction, that means that Central Bank, they would love to keep, when they say, oh, who we going to visit this year to do on-site exam? Oh, that crew, they always got a bad name. Let's go back there. I've been in conversation before with some regulators and they like, oh, that institution, yeah, we can hit them again. And I said, what? That's how this be carrying on? With those closed door conversations, you'll be surprised what they say about some other institution. And I'd be like, what? And if they telling us this, what they saying about us behind our backs? That's why we try to take them to lunch and hear what's going on, you know? You know, what you hear? Yeah, don't focus on us. Go to Scotia. It's better them than me. What you think? I need my job. Loss of market share, and again, you know, profitability. Everything is driven by profit. Just remember that conversation? Okay, how do we get around this? This is a good chance to make some money. You have targets, and we have to get profits. At the end of the day, it's a business. Yeah? Everyone want to get paid on, do you get paid weekly or bi-weekly at your institution? Monthly? Bi-weekly, okay, because every 2 weeks, I look to get paid too. So, the only way that can happen is if the business is profitable.
Fidelity is monthly.
Monthly? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Wow. She just said it. So, monthly, I can't do that no more. So, to damage the relationship with the customers, peers, and stakeholders. A month is a long time. That's like, what, 30 days?
Ain't no bad. Ain't no bad.
No, boy. No, boy. I mean, like, no, I ain't no
Next door, a few people.
So, damage to credibility with regulators, costly investigations. Investigations cost a lot of money and time, because the time that you get pulled away from your normal work to do a big investigation is costly. Employees of a financial institution may be subject to penalties, fines and penalties, and not just only the MLRO. Yeah? So how do you manage your risk? Remember we started talking about this risk appetite? Well, you need to have a statement. This statement saying that here at Bank X, we don't tolerate X, Y, and Z. We want to be known as the bank of choice for profitable business, not as the bank of choice for criminal behavior. You know, some nice, mission statement and all that nice word you think is up there. So the RAS, which they call it, should be known to, rolled out by the board and it's trickled down to all staff. They have to actually buy into this. Yeah? So not just the board saying, hey, we will be known as the bank of choice for good business and profit. It has to be trickled down to staff, and you need to know your risk appetite statement. Yeah? And not just the board. So it's actually corporate, enterprise-wide. 3 lines of defense. Anyone ever heard that term before? The 3 lines of defense? Yeah? If it's like football, you think of, you know, the defensive line. You need that 3 line of defense. You got your frontline staff. That's your customer facing. They're in the trenches. That's your first line. Your second line would be your compliance example, or your quality assurance people. And then your third line would be your audit. And it could also be the regulator too. Because everyone is being checked. You have the regulator, they check in your auditors. The auditors, they check in compliance. Compliance, they check in the front line. It's check, the check, and the check. Everyone is being checked. It make sense? I guess to keep everyone in check. How to mitigate risk again. Ongoing review of the framework. Of course, like when we do that reassessment on annual or biannual, however you want to do it, you got to make sure you have enough resources. Do you have enough resources at your institution? Do you have enough manpower to ensure that the function is being carried out? Or are you good? This is something that you as the compliance manager need to, or risk manager need to echo to the board. Boss, it's only me. I got 6 territories to cover and I need help. I can need an administrative assistant, I can need a deputy. Because let's be real, you can go home at some point. Oh, it's a question? No? Okay. And policies, and then you have to monitor. Whether it's transactions or monitor policy changes, you have to have some degree of monitoring. So you need to have the resources, you have to have the policy in place and monitoring. Then you have to have training. We did this before. I don't have to dwell on that. You need to be aware. It's no use having policy changes if no one will know it. Yeah? So, okay, policy was changed, but you ain't tell me what new to do. What's my expectation? It's just business as usual. That's the issue. Because you need to be in line with the new current change. Yeah? Risk rating, that's straightforward. All clients have to be risk rated. We'll talk about that in greater depth because we have a session on this. Risk rating clients. Applying the risk-based approach is used by company, depends on the firm's risk appetite. Yeah? Of course, if someone walks in the institution and, like I used to the scenario with the guy who's the water salesman on the road with the peanuts in the water, you're going to risk rate him different as opposed to someone who's a former MP who was just charged before court, come to your institution with a briefcase of money and he wants to open an account. You're going to look at them with 2 different eyes or views, the risk profiling them, right? Peanut vendor, who say you can bring in maybe $150 a week. This fellow with a briefcase, he's in the news, he's a former pep, he just got charged before court the other day. Okay, you see what's happening there, right? It's not one size fit all. It's based on the circumstances, on the information that's presented to you, on your risk appetite. Yeah? Oh, that's pretty good. A risk-based approach is one in which controls applied should be proportionate to the degree we know that. So, depending on the risk, the control has to be great or greater than to meet it. Yes?
There's a question.
Oh, there you go. Because I see you had your hand up the other day.
Do you believe that once a pep, always a pep?
My personal belief?
Yeah.
My personal belief is yes. However, there should be certain exceptions where perhaps the person is no longer a card-carrying member, he's out of frontline politics for a long time, and you should make you should have some flexibility. From institution to institution, it varies. Because I've seen where persons who say that, okay, they got beat this time, yeah, and they disappear for the next year, and then when their party come back in, they bring them back in as a consultant or they give them some posts. Now they right back. Sometimes you never really out a front line. I'll bet you right now, the PLP was to win the next election. A lot of those old faces will either come back as consultant, they can give them some ministry or they can give them some job. They'll even create posts for them. And then you'll see them back again. I hope to see no one family. And don't get mad at me. Baltra Bello, he was 85. And he was the consultant. At 85, he's the main meetings during this.
He's getting
I
well
know,
paid too.
but what Diane family is he looking at me at?
Me?
Okay, yeah, okay. But he was, I mean, some folks, I mean, like, what advice, fresh advice you give me at 85 as a consultant? It's just a way to pay a friend off, you know, to give him a little job. Let's be real. What consultancy you could be giving me if I gotta keep doing that? Just wake up in the meeting. I'm just saying.
So what about someone like Algernon Allen or Cynthia Motherfriend?
All of us would be best. They will always have that level of influence. I always see that happen because even after they were in charge of urban renewal and even with different parties, you're seeing that, and then they would get these appointments. And believe it or not, those two people still have a lot of influence. They can influence a lot of decisions.
That's why I gave them as examples.
Yeah. Still at this level, she's still giving advice. And they sit on a lot of boards too. Government appointed boards. Yeah, they do. Some of them sit on a lot of government appointed boards. And well, under the former administration, they were just creating boards before they made a decision, they were creating boards just to give them advice. And then they would have a board to see what the advice came out of that. Before I was like, nah, that's a I need to get 2 board appointments. I'd have been straight. Because they would form a board to give them advice. They'll come together with a final report, a draft. Then they would create a consultant committee based on the board to give the government advice. I'm like, that's 2 boards though. But you pay for that. I'm just saying. I mean, I pick it on the government. I'm just saying. I mean, that's a lot of work. So annually, the risks need to be identified in the AML risk, and they should be reviewed. And of course, this way your compliance or your external or internal audit or your quality assurance persons. Depends on whoever wears those caps in your organization. Just picking up the pace now. And again, real quick with internal policies and procedures, basic stuff. KYC, you know you need that on the clients, controls. We spoke about controls at length, source of identification. These are just some of the stuff. You need to have an MLRO. There's some new standard right now being tabled before the House. I just passed where, yes, you need to have compliance on MLROs for all financial institutions, especially with securities. So you can have plenty of jobs can be where they're like, okay, we need to hire, because it's the law now. You need to have compliance in MLROs. You know, because while we might say, oh, we don't need to do that, the international standard is saying, hey, this is what you need to do. It's coming from another area when you hear them saying, oh, we need to rush and do this. International pressure saying you need to have subject matter experts. Yeah? So now they need to start. Have you gone through the paper lately and see all these compliance positions just popping up?
They had a job of compliance officer.
But you know you know how you get to know good compliance positions? It ain't really in this paper, you know.
No, I don't.
Word of mouth.
Your network.
Yeah, you got a network. Because people call me all the time and I was like, man, what happened is, hey, they got to open it at so-and-so. I said, okay, 2 things I want to know. Well, you know, what one of them to be, right?
What's the pay?
Well, of course, who goes for less? I mean,
What's the pay? What's the benefits?
Compliance officer who leaving, first of all.
Well, of course, but
That for me is-
well, of course, that's one. You know, who
Yeah,
leaving?
that's a big one.
If you got a name brand person, someone out there who's been around long, like, oh, if so and so leaving, I ain't know.
Exactly.
If that person, everyone respect him, they say, oh, Barry, yeah, boy, we respect Barry. Barry don't play. Barry don't. He got in a rush. I know about that. And what is the salary like? Oh, not interested.
Yeah.
I remember they called me for that one for Crystal Palace, not Crystal Palace,
Bahama?
Bahama, yeah. And I said, yeah, they're excited. I said, bah, look here, you know, we was talking the other day and you could fit right in. I said, okay, cool, okay. And I said, you was a team member? I said, yes, I am. You the team player? I said, yes, I am. I said, this is where we begin you. I know someone else I could reference. And I was like, well, soon as that they said the wrong thing, because I mean, everything was going good. Everything was going good. And then they said, okay, well, this is what you get. And I was like, everything was quiet. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, okay, something else you were supposed to say? They was like, no. I said, oh, okay, but I know some people. I could sign their names. Sorry?
Just said to tell you hi if I
Look, boy, you the trip.
Name dropping on you.
Boy, look here. So, where we was on the slide now?
Better secure that ear, girl.
Boy, look here.
She said to tell you hello.
Oh Lord, that's I bet she
Yeah,
was
skipping points. So they
yeah,
just click it down.
she at her institution.
Which one? The one she is now a former?
The former one, because she
Okay.
was like, you could come and join our team. I said, yeah, I could see it happening, but she was the president of BACO. I was the vice president of BACO. We had a good team. We had a good crew, man. But then they said, okay, you come over here. I said, okay, I'll come to your place. But she said, You just gotta know how to deal with this. And you know how to deal with stress and this. And I was listening to all this, and I was getting depressed. I was like,
He was stressed.
after she was telling me some stuff, I was like, man, I ain't even want to finish this conversation, man. She said, but don't worry, but I think there's room for growth. That's after the stuff you tell me. I said,
Sorry, your room for
Smart move,
improvement.
cause she rolled out
yes, she made an excellent move. And
I
the
know.
timing was right, so.
smart girl.
And there's a whole crew of them left.
Yes, sir.
They took the whole compliance department.
Yeah, 'cause
What?
her
I've never
boss
seen that
was
happen. They said,
like-
look here, you all ready to go? You be moving like a team? Okay, let's go.
Yeah, 'cause
It
her
makes
boss
sense.
Went there as well.
Yes, especially because how we network, if you know someone is a good let's just say, I know Barry, or I know Cox, or I know Tabitha, right? Tabitha, right? Ginger, sorry, Tabitha close. So, you know, let's think of this. People, they always want to surround themselves with people they know.
Right.
Or they're familiar with, or they're
Right,
comfortable
who they
with.
could trust.
Because when my boss had to move, and he was like, buddy, I pushing out. What you saying, you and me? I said, boy, where you going? And he said, look here, they forming this thing called the FIU. And I said, what the hell is the FIU? He said, well, I need you to be my right hand. I said, well, I ain't even where I is. He said, but this is what they gave you. And I said, well, when we starting? You got to look for opportunities sometimes too. And that's when you develop a network and you get a good name. People will remember you. Can't be no fool. I mean, you don't want to go backwards. Rule of thumb is this. If you're going to move, at least move for, this is just my humble opinion, move for at least no less than 10,000 more. Less. You need to get at least 10,000 more. Yeah? Because when he moved to Scotia, my boss, he said, man, they tell me to come to Scotia. I said, yeah, well, I know about that. He said, they just a sign-in bonus. $10,000?
Sign on.
Just to come? I said, what the hell? He said, that ain't salary, that's just to come. I said, what the hell? I said, boy, ain't your life ain't fair, boy. When he tell me that, I was
That was
depressed.
enough?
Man, listen, yeah, that was close to Christmas. When they offer you 10,000, how much Christmas presents you can buy with that? Shoots, I forget what I was even saying. So the policies and procedures, these are just a few. It'll be in the handout again. We covered this before, so in the interest of time, and reporting procedures. Education and training, you can't express that enough. You have to constantly get educated, up to date. You need to have in place a control library. This is also in your book. The control library speaks to all the controls that you have in place to mitigate against any possible risk. It's basically a catalog. So if a regulator comes in and says what controls you have it readily available, and you'll be able to apply which control to which risk. Controls can include customer due diligence, if you have controls for that, customer review, training, refresher training, monitoring. So any risk that would jump out from any of those factors below there, you would have a correlating control. Yeah? It has to be documented. You need to know that you have a library to speak to all those various risks. Yeah? We know the role of an MLR. Anyone who don't know the role of an MLR will say now. Good. So we can move on. I ain't gonna waste your time, but the important thing is to having the right fit. You remember when I told you said that I got a call and they said, hey, we want you on our team and all that good stuff? I ain't no problem. I had no problem being the second fiddle on the team. I'm a team player, but you gotta make sure some stuff. I had to get along with. I don't ask so much, but just make sure the money is right. In this case right here, Peter Madoff, his salary is $1 million. If your salary is $1 million a month, you had any issue, $1 million, Google it. A month. Bernie Madoff was responsible for the biggest Ponzi scheme in the history of the world. So he could afford to pay someone $1 million. You pay me $1 million a month. I didn't even work a whole month. I can work for half a month and I quit. Because I know if you pay me that kind of money, you always some fishy going on here, so I'm gonna get locked up. So I can wait for half a month, get my money, and I go on. That's me. I ain't what you all into. The whole month is $1 million. You give me $1 million. I don't know what to do with myself. You give me $1 million right now. I don't want to. I may go to Buju concert. I might go there and I might get a skyboard, 2,500. I'm rich. I can put something in church and get to put 10% in tithes. No, I think I better wait a whole month. So I gotta put 10% in church and whatever. But you give me $1 million right now. The average person right now, you ask them, what would you do with $1 million? They don't know.
Oh, I know. Ooh, what?
You saying that?
I just was about to say,
What?
if
You don't
get
know.
$1
The average
million,
person
you
don't
would
know.
need to work
You
to
don't
get it
know.
about a year. You could spend that.
Yeah, $1 million ain't what you think it is.
Yeah, that you don't.
10 years ago, you would, oh, $1 million ain't what it is.
Oh, come on. Someone give y'all $1 million like that. That wouldn't be a plus. Y'all know exactly what to do with that.
But the,
I think it's not what she said.
Jimmy, you start working.
Yeah,
So you say your name is stop working. We ain't stopping to work.
no, he's talking about he can quit. No, that's my point. $1 million ain't no money. It's about 6 months.
No, it ain't enough money to quit. But it's enough money.
The average person who has never had that kind of money, who never been exposed to it, don't know how to invest, they probably blow it.
Fix ain't no money, girl.
I just say, if you know what to do with it,
Fix.
The average person don't know what to do with it. And you
And
see,
that's why they can need a job in 3 months, because they can spend it on food.
Ah.
They can need a job.
Exactly.
Well, you gotta have some splurging money in that.
Well, it's a well, yeah. If you get it in the States, you probably can pay with 35% in taxes.
Exactly.
Start
Go
off.
down to 7.
You don't lose that. So, but in this case right here, Bernie's brother Peter, and I told you all about him before. He was why it's a risk having him in the position he was in. Is because he was not just the chief money laundering officer. He was also responsible for investment. He was a relationship manager, and he was also an audit. So if you got one person having all those roles, you see why he's getting $1 million a year.
How would they have come up with that 143?
143 billion over the life of that relationship, and all of the, based on the information, all the complaints they had. How many poisons were built? Because poisons only were rich on paper. They ain't never see their money because Bernie used to tell them, "This is send a statement religiously to those people."
Right.
And they were like, "Oh
Right.
yeah, I have all this in the
That
bank."
make it suicidal, but
Some couple persons committed suicide.
suicidal.
A lot of
The
celebrities
people who
lost
got out
money.
early, as always in a Ponzi scheme, they're the ones that made the money.
Yep. Yes.
There were some
Yes.
people who got out early.
Some
Pineapple
people.
They would
Express.
tend to be the
Yeah,
very
right.
wealthy, those in the know. They had their money.
Exactly.
Some of them had to give it back.
And the thing about it with
Gotta give it
Ponzi,
back.
you have to
Yeah.
constantly bring in new blood
Yeah,
to keep it going.
they tried that over here.
You have to. Well,
Couple
pineapple.
times.
Yeah, we had a little on a small scale. The Pineapple Express. I know, but that one very
They
close.
clawed it back from some of the people who sold.
Yes.
They clawed the money.
Yes. Have you ever seen the movie? Bernie? It's on. It was on HBO. That was. You can download it on Netflix. That was a very interesting story.
what is that? Bernie?
His son committed suicide too.
Something
Bernie?
prior to.
His son. Yeah.
The name of it is just Bernie.
Bernie. Yeah. Madoff, sorry, it's Madoff. And the thing about it, when you look at it, his wife was saying, "Oh my Lord, we're gonna lose all our paintings." And I was like, "Do you want with your freedom?" And they cut deals. He said, leave his wife out already. He protected her and all that stuff. He had mansions from mansions. I was like, dang, he had a lot of money. I don't think you realize it. $143 billion. You done pay our deficit how much time?
Yep.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I go for jail for that. No million.
I mean, yeah, good, yeah, but I mean, you spend the rest of your life in jail. I mean, it's,
How old this man is when he was found out? He enjoyed the prime of his life.
but his
Brother
brother,
die in jail. Though.
his brother, he was sentenced too. You could Google it. He would only receive 10 years in prison. So 10 years. We talking
You
about
could do
billions
10
of dollars.
10 years?
But I mean, of course, they confiscated all his assets and they were looking for whatever. You'll do jail time for 10
And
years,
she could
right?
come out and still have 2 babies. I'm with you.
But protect your name, man. You.
Man, what does that man got to do with anything with that kind of money? I want to know one thing when people true.
Man, you're quick for the devil. So, some risk management tips, just so I'll throw it here. Have a working definition of risk. So that's free advice to you knowing what is risk. Because no one is half the battle. You got to know what is a risk to you. Yeah, it's a threat, your vulnerability. What is international standards as it relates to risk management? You need to know those. These are tips, possibly for your test. Conducting an AML risk assessment on what is required. You have to do an assessment, and I gave you that earlier, what's required. Consequences for non-compliance, failing to comply. Think about your personal liability under the institution. How to mitigate risk, usually by employing controls. You hear that word a lot. Training, policies and procedures. Have in place a control library, and know at least 1 or 2 perhaps case study as an example. A free one is Bernie. His brother performed 3 roles. How could you be the person who write the check, reconcile the books, and report. You can't. That's too much delegation of authority for one person. There's risk for fraud.
What happened to his brother?
His brother is still in jail. He only have to do
He got 10 years.
10 years.
How much money do you think he got away with 10 years? He still have
He got
he still have his money.
No,
he
his
got
money was taken. All his
The
assets
ones
were
they could find was taken.
whatever they could find,
What
yeah.
they could find was taken.
Yeah, and it may not be in his name or whatever,
Exactly.
but I can almost guarantee you, even after he comes out, they can still be monitoring.
Of course.
So monitor him until he dies. Because if he come in any great belt,
That's gonna
post
be it,
jail,
yeah. They
they
can
going
take it
after
over.
that. Because he may not pay off all the debt. They say in lieu of
He need to move somewhere different. He need to move from states.
worldwide.
Europe.
If you can touch the U.S. system, they go after
He
you.
get enough money to change some stuff, change some features, change the color of his eyes.
That's you too deep. Just to get a couple dollars, just a couple million, you change your eye color. You was a mess. Well, having said that, folks, like we always say, the rule that we apply is the tree approach. You read the book before coming in. This is the presentation. The only reason why I don't have a copy for you today because I don't, because I inadvertently left it on the table. But I do have a copy of what I call a cheat sheet. You have a paper that's going to be due. I think it's the first week in May.
18.
Yeah, and with that paper,
18 or 15?
yeah. But you don't have to think that far ahead because you want to start doing it. You want to start with that paper. The trick is this: you want to always, with your paper, you want to start doing the paper early. Don't wait until after Easter and you don't all burn it or whatever. So what I did, I gave you all a copy last week. Yeah. But what I did, I went and I put in a little one or two little tips inside. I know you all don't need it, but we could discuss it further. It's just some points like, hey, I hope I have enough handouts. But the handout, what I was supposed to give you today, I'll bring the copies of that next week. So what you can do, the trick is this, folks. Yeah, I think we have enough. I hope I have enough. Yeah? Is that enough? Yeah? So I haven't read, I think, some tips or little jottings, that's just to get you the juices flowing so you can start to flesh out. I am marking the papers.
Yay.
So these are some of the stuff right here in red that you can start to flesh out. How you're gonna perhaps approach it. So don't wait until next 2 weeks. Well, Monday is the 1st of April, so you want to jump on that like yesterday. And even if you take like an hour a week, perhaps to look at it and then start fleshing it, open a Word document and just start, okay, section 8, 1A, and start sticking on it. Be mindful of your word count. 2B. You start, touching on it. And
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
To be presented in any particular format like APA for the pre.
For your citations,
Yeah.
not necessarily. You can use either one of the citation approach. The thing about it is that you got the concepts and you approach it and it's thorough as best as you can to answer the question.
You want this essay base?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It could be short answer format, but if you have to, wherever you cite, and it's not your actual words, you have to give credit to that person, reference it. So I don't want you to just copy and paste something and say, therein lies, and call the section so and so, and you're like, dude, you don't talk like that. That's someone else's words.
You're the only person marking it, or it's being crossed?
No, they told me I'll do it marking the papers. That's what they told
So
me.
you mean if we provide lunch every week and tell them they won't get the full 20 points?
We are being recorded.
Listen here, you ain't have to verbally say nothing, all you gotta do is give the right, that's all.
You wait for the devil. But again, just to assure you folks, I will ensure that I have the paper, the handout for the day's class next week. Again, I apologize for that,
Just email it.
Russian, huh?
Just don't email it.
But I will send it to Miss Dean if she want to send it to March. But you will get a copy of it, so it wouldn't like you would be out of the loop. So, and I did tell her this, just so you know, because that Easter weekend, which is that Saturday, she said if I get consensus from you, and if you all are willing to do the class, perhaps that Thursday or Wednesday, once it's agreement, then you don't have to, because you don't want to come here on Easter Saturday. Because a Friday gonna be holiday,
I'm
whatever.
probably gonna be traveling further, so if we do it, I can't do 5:30 and 6 o'clock. I'm literally traveling from like the heat. So if we do it, it has to be 6:30 or later, to be honest. I know
no.
it's late.
No, but just get there and you get the information. So the important thing is to get the information once you get it. Yeah?
Which day is it?
We just want to confirm it. So it'll either be that Wednesday or Thursday. I'll let you know well in advance. Yeah. So you'll get it advance notice. So you won't have to come that Saturday because Saturday some people don't tell me they got the plans to go to Walmart. So, everyone's going to Walmart. Right, Barry?
Huh? I ain't got a Wally. Wally is too much stress.
No, boy, you gotta go to Wally now. If you don't go to Wally, you ain't saying nothing.
Wally get expensive.
Wally sell bar towels for $1. So enjoy what's left of your Saturday, folks, and let me know how Buju turn out, eh?
I will.
This is Buju Bantan.
So you could be like that fellow who's sending right now WhatsApp and make sure your Facebook name on point.
Boy, look here. Boy, you's a mess. Buju Bantan.
The chief indeed, they tell me to tell you hello. She and I are very, that's my partner in crime.
What?
Thank you, yeah. Known her for more than 20 years.
Yeah, me and we always drawing swords. Tell her I say, I give it a minute.
Now you understand the
Oh,
resemblance.
exactly. Boy, you ought to something else.
That's why that's my girl.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. What I do wrong now? Nice, buddy. All right, buddy. Take it easy. Today, no, I didn't see it. This is the one. Oh, is it everyone signed? Everyone signed? I could send. Okay, you're. Let me give you money. Okay, it's Randy.Taylor. Randy.Taylor 100 @yahoo.com. Once you send it, once I log in tonight, I'll send it back to you. Which paper you asking? I know you're gonna say something paper. No? You're talking about the intro? Way back, and I'm trying to figure out because I have a new computer at work and I wonder if I got
You
something.
say Monday, and then I just was waiting to see things then, and then I never see anything, and then this got so busy.
You didn't see no email coming back to me?
Only one, when you say you was going to
The
get
intro one, I'm trying to figure out if I can find that one.
your personal computer.
I have voice. This is the one when I log on home when I get home. I was looking to see if I can find that one. That's the problem I was looking for. What do you want to do though?
I just want to see how, just have it in my
Okay. Well, I can take another stab again.
No, I better
Yeah.
not praise it. I better don't want to be
Yeah.
How do you do it?
To register your institution, have to send in a letter.
Oh, your institutional?
Yeah, they will send in a letter. You have along with your resume and reference. Resume, and a letter saying that the person is the MLR for the institution. You want to have the person registered.
Registered. See, the company I work for, like, I don't have a background in even any of this. It's kind of.
And you have it going. Because I mean, if you went to your certifications. Yeah.
Yeah, so the institution that I work for now is, they deal with collections, debt recovery and stuff like that. So it's like, as soon as I got into this course, even before then, it was just like, I got accepted there. So it's like a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But they don't have a compliance section yet.
You have it.
But they know they need it.
Yeah, so you will definitely have it